everybody. We look in interview, and today we speak with Monica Parker, Agriculture Science, International Agriculture Development, Seed System Specialist, and Potato Advisor. Hello, Monica.
Oh, hello. Hello. Very nice to be with you here, Victor, today.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I have a little more question to you, and if it's possible, I wait your answer. And first question, can you tell about your professional journey in agriculture and seed systems?
Okay, so in short, my journey began in Canada. I'm a citizen of Canada, and I always wanted to work overseas. After I did my master's degree in plant pathology at Simon Fraser University, some people may know that, I went to Rwanda as a volunteer. There, I then worked in the horticulture sector. Then after that, I came back to Canada, and I did my PhD at the University of Guelph. And then from there, I went to SIP in Kenya, where I have become now known in the potato world. And I did that for almost 11 years, and now I'm back in Canada, working as a consultant with SIP. And that has sort of been the short end of my journey to get here.
Okay, how did you become a potato specialist and an expert in international agriculture development?
Okay, so, well, the potato specialist really came with my role at SIP. Before that, I hadn't worked with potato. I had worked in horticulture. But for this role, they had wanted somebody with a background in plant pathology, and that was my background. And just really how I became an expert is just through learning on the job, going to the field, going to the seed growers, reading, learning on my own, a lot of interactive learning. I think that's really the key. And then also the expert is not just a technical one, it's also into the sector, to support sector development and developing the partnerships with the different, government institutions, the private sector. So the partnerships are so important. And then having them having the confidence in your technical skills, because you're really in an advisory role when you're working at that level of support, different types of, the sector when you're working with the farmers, it's different types of expertise that are needed for the advisory services.
Look, Monica, I think so. It's very important and it's a very interesting question. Seed system, what are your main challenge you see in seed system across different regions?
Okay, so seed systems. This is in every country where the potato sector is developing. It is really the seed system that is the biggest bottleneck. There's multiple reasons for that. Just potato is inherently technically difficult with the bulkiness and the perishability of the seed, but the potato is so important that we want to find ways to overcome these inherent challenges, right? We know potato is a very smart crop for food security, etc. So seed is always that recurring theme. And I think there's so many challenges, but one really it culminates in how to produce seed to meet the scale of the needs, right? You need seed at such large scales when it comes to potato. We're talking hundreds of thousands of tons of seed. So I just sort of prepared an example for Kenya. And so they have about 170,000 hectares. So that's like 300,000 tons of seed. So their seed system is very well developed. They have big growers, but still, of the certified seed in 2022, it was 6,000 tons. That was the commercial level. They had a bit more, but that was the earlier generation seed, right? But the one that the farmers had available was like 2%. So it's that scale, right? And how to get that, the producers to produce at the scale needed. We know we don't need, farmers don't buy all their seed, but still you need to produce a little bit more than 2% of the needs of formal seed to really get the sector moving. Because that is the principal challenge to the yields, to the growth, to the dynamism, the dynamic nature that potato can give to the value chains.
Okay, next question. How do you approach improving seeds quality and accessibility for farmers?
Okay, so seed quality, this is a big one, and that is really what makes potato such a challenge is the diseases in the seed quality assurance. As a plant pathologist, we know potato hosts more diseases and pests than any other basically crop that we grow, or one of the top ones. So quality assurance is very paramount. One of the biggest one is really training your seed growers. At SIP, when I was there, or with the other seed growers, you really work one-on-one with them, right? You have a bilateral relationship. The training is really more going to their facilities and giving that one-on-one technical advisory backstopping, maybe some online service, but really the capacity development of the seed grower, that's really the core of the quality assurance. Another really important one, and this should apply to, so I'm talking more like the big seed growers where you really can have that relationship one-on-one. You can't do that with 50 small seed growers, right? But that's managed through a different system, right? Through an outgrower system, then that would be led through that professional seed grower that you invested a lot of energy and time into so that you can outreach to the smaller scale seed growers, which also should apply to everybody, a huge aspect. And this is, I think in Africa where it's come more that it's the soil-borne pathogens that are the real threat to seed. I think in Europe, it's more the viruses. In North America, we see more about attention to the viruses in the seed. In Africa, it's really the soil-borne pathogens that are the biggest risk. Because also when the farmer plants that, their soil becomes contaminated. A virus will just, ruin their yield for one season, but it won't have the longer term effects. So for any level of seed production, whether you're big or small, test your soil. There's simple tests out there. Not every country has that, but then again, that's part of the sector development, how to get that into their seed systems. And now for farmer access, this is a really important one because this is the biggest problem. Seed growers sell their seed farm gate. So you don't have seed growers dispersed everywhere. So come in developing these outgrower seed systems is one of them under professional grower. And another really important one for access is technology and really these apical cuttings that we've heard about. They can be grown by small nurseries in rural areas. They're low risk phytosanitary. You're starting with a tissue culture plant. You're producing in a protected environment, and then you're selling the product from there. Tissue culture move well. You don't need a lot. And if you can get the farmers really engaged in saving their own seed, these cuttings are also another way of getting high quality material out and dispersing that access. It really down to the farmer and the rural levels.
Yeah, thanks. Look, Monica, in January, I want to organize a meeting. Maybe it's meeting for hybrid, online and offline in Moscow in January. And I want to speak with seed specialist varieties about future varieties. What do you see popular varieties in 5 or 10 years later?
Okay. Okay, one of the big areas where we're seeing growth in potato is where we have short growing seasons or one growing season a year. So, and that's limited to the irrigated season, to the winter. But we know it's so good for potato production. That climate is excellent. But it's that short maturity. This is what I see over and over again, many different countries, because when they're irrigating and to escape disease, but more because a lot of potato is irrigated, it's the short maturity. That's got to be a really big one. Another important part in the varieties, well, is always going to be disease resistance. And really late blight is really still, there's all these diseases and late blight has been around and notable mention for so long, but it still really is the biggest problem and challenge to growers who don't have access to a lot of inputs. So when you're looking at resource limited farmers, really those resistance to agronomical challenges. So short maturity, I think, is a big one, early maturity, and the disease resistance. It's hard to say yield because everyone wants big yields, but it's these traits that give you the big yields. And this is how I kind of look at that. But those would be two that I would look at.
Okay. About international project, can you share some international project you have been involved with and and few impact on local communities?
Okay, well, there's two projects that really dealt at the level of the community, and we felt the benefit, and we still see the benefit in the communities where we were implementing the project. And one of them was a scaling project for the apical cuttings, and that was an internal project funded by the CGIAR system, for which SIP is a member. And that one really brought cuttings from the large scale centralized producer out to the small scale nurseries, and then having the farmers buy cuttings to plant directly on the farm because they do a lot of seed saving on farm. And also some of the producers of the cuttings might do 1 or 2 seasons of small scale multiplication, and farmers really appreciated that seed. They really saw the quality differences between even some of the certified seed because the seed was much more younger generation than the certified seed. So then we saw the downstream benefits from good seed, good yields, etc., income. And we saw those great communities flourishing. And then another example of seed system development embedded in a project was it ended up lasting for almost 8 years. And this was a project with USAID in Kenya. And one of the main objectives was to support seed system development. And that was really now looking at this outgrower model and see how we can bring that outgrower model to bring seed, because in some of these counties, they never had produced seed. So it's a different type of scale and profile of farmer. A seed grower is different than a potato farmer. So really how to bring in the outgrower model. And there we see also very important was working with the local government. In Kenya, they have a very strong local government system. And so they perpetuate that support. So we also train those enablers so that they're still providing that support and integrating potato into their county programs. So I think those are two notable mentions where we really felt the impact at the community level and ongoing through the capacity development that was left behind.
Okay, next question. What key lessons have you learned for working in an international setting?
Okay, so I think some of the first key lessons is your partnerships and finding the right partners on the ground. Yeah, that one is, I want to hear my lessons. Yes, is the partnerships and in providing them so that you get that continued support after the project ends. That is really key, is the capacity development, not just of the farmers, but of the partners. One of them. Another one is that farmer good agricultural practices and farmer training will always be important. Just like late blight has always been a challenge. It's not boring, but it's always there. Same with farmer GAP. Always have to emphasize the farmer GAP. And I think another key one is we talk about farmers not being able to afford seed. We hear that a lot. And I'm talking in the developing world context. But in that USA project I had talked about, we had encouraged the seed growers to sell seed in small quantities, 5, 10 kilo bags, so that in case a farmer couldn't afford the 50 kilo standard. Well, out of, I don't know, 50 growers and how many bags of seed that they sold, only 3 bags were sold in a small quantity. Not only were farmers buying all that seed, they were buying like 3 or 4 bags per farmer. And this was really in that rural farmer settings, right, of small scale farmers. So when we say farmers can't afford seed, I think we have to double check when we say that, because they can. And not all of them, but there's ways to also to get them to enable them to afford seed. So I think that's another big lesson, is we underestimate how farmers value seed and that they will buy it when it's available, when the quality product and the value for money is there.
In Australia, I speak with a Kenya Irish guy.
Okay.
You're working in Kenya and have time to visit him.
Oh, there's so much to see in Kenya for potato. It's really for when you think about small scale potato farming, coupled with the professional certified seed and seed producers, it's really a great example of that, the diversity.
I need to see. In the first day of November, I visit Uzbekistan.
Oh, okay. Wow, very different.
I visit big farmer. He growing 2,000 hectare potato, and he have a French fries factory. And I want to prepare some report about him in November.
Yeah, no, but so even in Kenya, there's one very big seed grower who is developing the whole system with a compound, with a processing factory, and the outgrowers for the farmers and the seed. So yeah, they're doing very wonderful things in Kenya. So you'll have a very nice time. Yeah.
Okay. Next question, trends in agronomy. What current trends are you observing in agriculture, particularly in potato productions?
Okay, so one of the first trends that I'm seeing is a big emphasis, again, in countries where the potato sector is developing, is on processing and the opportunities for processing and the new varieties. And a lot of these countries also tend to have challenges of food security. And there's not enough emphasis put on the food security angle of potato. Not to take away from the processing. The processing, there's lots of opportunities and jobs and high-skilled labor and economic development. And that's going to be a very important contributor to potato sector development, especially where food security is a challenge. But in countries where it is a challenge, we need to put as much emphasis, because potato is a crop that really can feed people. We've seen this historically. We know this. And this is a smart crop to feed people. And we have to look at potato to feed people, like not just those who can afford potato chips and crisps. It needs to go out to rural farmers, to urban poor. And potato really is a crop that can deliver that. So it would be nice to see more programming as much, or even more, supporting that component of the potato sector. And I think the other really big trend we see now is regenerative agriculture. And we see a lot of this. It's great. To me, it should be about sustainable agriculture, which is an integration of regenerative traditional practices, new technologies, about really being sustainable, and not in agronomically, but also economically. We don't see enough of the economic implications of some of these new, systems of agriculture, and we put too much onus on the farmer to do all that corrective work, which is a landscape level solution. So we really need to take the onus off the farmer to put 10% of their land aside for biodiversity. That's 10% of their production, and that could be 10% or more of their income. So we have to find those balances and within these trends. That's a very broad topic.
Next question. How are technology and innovation influencing the development of agronomy and seed systems?
Well, I think now the really big goal is to increase the productivity so that we can reduce our generations of bulking. I think that's really to get that efficiency down. The traditional ways are taking many years and many field bulkings. So I think through the true potato seed, also through cuttings, and this to improving your yields at your early generations, so we can bring down those generations and the land needs and the quality risks that come with it. I think that's going to be really the overall trend in the seed right now.
What are your views on sustainable development in agriculture? Correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Again, what I was saying a bit earlier is when the delivery of these programs and systems to farmers, right? Because they're the target of these, is we have to really question sustainable in the agronomic and in the economic sense. And there's so much information on the agronomic, benefits of some of these practices, but we're not looking at the economic and really what is the role of the farmer and what is the role beyond the farmer. I think that's really important in the sustainable accent, and really that integration, the new technologies really can deliver, and to reduce inputs. That's got to be one of our biggest goals in sustainable agriculture and new technologies, is to reduce inputs, and that's so important with our traditional and our regenerative agriculture and these other agricultural systems to come together to be sustainable.
What steps need to be taken to ensure a sustainable future for the agriculture sector?
The steps, it's a
What
lot
do
of
you think? Yeah.
the steps for a sustainable agriculture future. It's really about having the right expertise. I think that is so important in the capacity development when you are developing different aspects of the sector. Never underestimate the importance of the institutions, the enabling environment to support that production. And enabling those institutions, they also need to be very technically astute, so that sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and there's no shame in that. But to reach out, there are experts out there who really do know. Just because you're not an expert in one thing doesn't mean you don't know something else very well. So we always have opportunity to learn, and being very technical. I find in general international development is more, it's advisory services. It's very technical. They can everyone can organize themselves and administrate, but it's really those technical aspects. And that's a lot of what I'm asked. It's, well, if I space 10 by 20 or 15 by 25, what will be the difference? But you see, like, those kind of very specific and detailed questions. And that's a lot of, I also get asked the more broader programmatic stuff, but I get a lot of that very detailed questions, because that can make a big difference for a grower. That can, so.
What partnerships do you consider most important for success in international agriculture development?
Okay, so there are many different types of partnerships, and I think that also depends at what part of the sector you're working in. So working with the government, we really need, especially when the sector is developing, you need those programs, and the governments are there to support programming so that farmers and other those in the value chain and in the system can operate. And I had made some notes here on this last page. So you have these very high level technical partnerships with the government, with ministries, institutions, in the seed system. And so that really needs to come from high level expertise going to these high levels of government. Then you also look at the partnerships with your implementing partners, right? The ones on the ground who are delivering. Those very high expertise are not going to be the ones delivering on the ground. That's done through partnerships, your implementing partners, and your local organizations. That's very key, whether they're farmer-based organizations, your local governments. People sometimes question it, but I've seen so many effective local governments, and when they have the support that is needed to elevate them, they're very responsive. Capacity development, giving them the chance to lead on activities. This is very key, because it's really that on the ground, right? It's that penetration on the ground, and these are so important in their capacity, and they're enabling to do that, because they're often the ones who are those institutions who are there perennially, and they will continue to provide support. So the different levels of partnerships and collaborations, depending on which level of intervention you're in, but they're all extremely important, and we work in different levels.
Okay. Very important question. What advice would you give to young agronomists and system specialists?
Yes, I think first is really be technically astute. I think this has thematically come up in this discussion, is to really understand your technical skills area. And then as you're growing, I think networking, visibility is important. Networking, meeting your, depending on what you're doing, right? Because there's the ones who produce the seed, and then there's the ones who enable the seed. So I'm on the enabling side. I'm not a seed producer. So knowing your partners and getting your visibility, those are attend events when you can, and getting that first job, that first position, that is really, you will springboard from there, right? This is, if you have the goal to go and to be a grower or an enabler, once you get that first position, get out there and you will springboard. But you have to have the confidence in your technical skills. People will see through you if you are not being fully honest and transparent in what you know and don't know.
Okay. What skills do you think are most important for successful career in the fields?
The skills of successful career in international development is, let me see, this one wasn't on your list already. I have a new one, but I think, okay, soft skills, very important. Okay, first is the technical ones. Okay, you are there for a technical reason. You have to be there to add value. You can't patronize. They're very, they're very technical and knowledgeable partners, and you're going there as an expert. So you really, those technical skills, always, don't be an expert in international development. Being an expert in engineering or agronomy is going to be much more beneficial and add value. And patience, patience. This is so important. They're the partners, they're the leaders. We're the advisors in the background. We're not there for the acclaim. We're not there for the recognition. As the advisors, we're there to uplift them and to enable them to serve, their countries and their nations' needs. So I think that's also a very important, the patience and standing back and really enabling the partners to lead. I think that is so important. And the feedback works. You eventually are always recognized as being the driver of this, but when you really, you get more recognition when you really push it through the partners.
Okay. If you need to, you may drink your tea.
Oh, okay, thank you.
We finished, and we have two questions about yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Personal inspiration. What inspires you in your work, and why did you choose a career in agriculture?
I am very passionate that everybody deserves nutritious, safe, and affordable food. There's so much talk about different niches of food, but we have to talk, the bulk of, I'm going to now go to North America. The bulk of people in North America buy groceries from their discount grocery stores. They have the right to that food being as safe and nutritious as your very niche farmer's market, etc. So I like to see this really bit equality in the food system and really pushing for affordable food and not shaming people. I don't like that shame. Oh, you're not feeding your child organic milk, right? That's horrible. Conventional milk is, it's just as safe and healthy, etc. So that is very passionate for me and why I'm in agriculture. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we continue with. Look, finished question. What do you just want? What do you say people who look in this video, young agronomist, farmer, maybe people who science for new varieties, government, what do you want to say with people?
People, I think that's the most important part. When I first went into development, it's about the people, right? We're there to improve their livelihoods, and potato is one of the great ways that we can do that. And it's the appreciation of the partnerships, from working with the Minister of Agriculture to a farmer who's maybe on a quarter of an acre of land, and giving them the same respect and reverence and your attention wherever they are in that sector. And I think that is just such a value for me to be able. I feel honored to be able to walk into a farmer's home in the rural Uganda or Cameroon or Sudan, and then also walk into a minister's office. I think that is such an appreciation and honor to be able to be a part of the sector and the growth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Victor.